look at the problem, and then blaming him and blaming him and blaming him, versus here's the problem, what can I do about it? If we're more going in the mindset of what can I do about it, we can decrease entitlement. We can get more people figuring out ways to make money on their own. We don't need to sit there and say, hey, we'll pay your college. Oh, don't worry about it. You don't have any money. You don't need to pay for it. We're going to forgive you. We keep going with this mindset of wanting to take pressure away from people. Then all of a sudden, one day we're waking up $34 trillion in debt. Who's going to pay for it?
Patrick Bet-David sat down with Stephen A. Smith, the very, very woke Stephen A. Smith, on Stephen A. Smith's own show, and absolutely demolished him on several different topics. This is only part one of the interview. I assume part two will be dropping soon, and I'm looking forward to seeing it because part one was very good, especially coming from the Patrick Bet-David side, absolutely tearing apart a lot of the woke talking points that Stephen A. Smith had. Let's get into this video of Patrick Bet-David absolutely shredding Stephen A. Smith and all of his woke nonsense.
Wow. You're paying for it.
Right.
So they'll respond back, right? So everything in America, when I look at, is if we're going to be in the business of looking at only problems, look at the problem and then blaming him and blaming him and blaming him, versus here's the problem, what can I do about it? If we're more going in the mindset of what can I do about it, we can decrease entitlement. We can get more people figuring out ways to make money on their own. We don't need to sit there and say, hey, we'll pay your college. Oh, don't worry about it. You don't have any money. You don't need to pay for it. We're going to forgive you. We keep going with this mindset of wanting to take pressure away from people. Then all of a sudden, one day we're waking up $34 trillion in debt. Who's going to pay for it? These kids are going to say, hey, Mom, Dad, what'd you guys do about all this stuff? Well, listen, we just kind of pushed the problem over to you. You guys figured it out. It's okay. It's not a big deal. You'll pay it off. How do you pay that kind of money? You either write it off, or the dollar's worth shit, or your taxes go up, but the pressure regardless is on the next generation. So
keep in mind, this is a direct shot at Stephen A. Smith and the people that he defends and runs with, because Stephen A. Smith is one of those people. Now, look, he's gotten better over the years, and I don't know if I completely trust him because it seems like a lot of people have gotten better recently when it comes to these things. I think a lot of them are just seeing the tide turning and they're saying, oh, look, everybody's moving in this direction. Let me go there too, because that's where the money's going to be. I think that's why people, opportunists like Dr. Phil and Bill Maher and Stephen A. Smith, the rest of these guys, I think that's why they're doing it. But Stephen A. Smith definitely is one of those people that just likes to complain. He just likes to talk about problems. He talks about black oppression and, why black head coaches don't get hired in the NFL enough and stuff like this. And he loves to complain because it sounds great. Sounds great to his audience that he's cultivated to complain about these things and talk about how oppressed certain groups of people are and why, black head coaches don't get jobs in the NFL. But he never talks about solutions. And Patrick Bet-David is going at him and saying, no, we need to stop complaining so much and talk about solutions instead, because complaining gets you nowhere. It just gets you absolutely nowhere in life. So Stephen A. Smith is kind of like a professional complainer nowadays, and he's gotten better, but I don't trust him. I think a lot of people have gotten better because they see the way the tide is going and they see that there's an opportunity if you go in a certain direction. And this is a direct shot at Stephen A. Smith and the people that he runs with for sure.
I think a part of it for me is for this generation to kind of stand up and say, what can I do about it individually? Then vote accordingly, then go make your money, and then find a way to get involved in public service, church, charity, or politics. That's very simple.
And you're a businessman, and I think that your resume is atypical. You're far more successful than most businessmen in my estimation. But your mentality, your mindset, as you just highlighted, seems to me indicative of what every boss would want. Don't come to me with problems. Come to me with solutions. Now, you can identify the problem if you bring me a solution.
Right.
But if you just come in to bitch, whine, and moan, I don't want to hear it. Is that basically what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, anything it is, right? Like if I'm hearing sports, you know what? It's the coach's fault. Let's fire another coach. Again, it's another coach's. How many coaches' faults is it going to be? No, it's the GM's fault. No, it's the owner's fault. No, it's this person's fault. And then you finally eventually realize, here's what I'm willing to do. My name is Dirk Nowitzki. Hey, Mark, I'm willing to take a pay cut to bring 2 new players in because I want to win a championship. And I'm going up against a team called the Miami Heat that has Bosh, Dwayne Wade, and LeBron James. You end up beating those guys? Yes. For the rest of your legacy, you're always going to be able to say you beat a prime Wade, a prime LeBron, and a prime Bosh. That's a pretty good story to tell. But that's because you took a pay cut. So, hey, you want to win a championship, Dirk? I do. What's your solution? Pay me less, but bring me better plays. Great.
It pays to get paid on Cash App.
Oh, sorry. We don't care, Steven. Back to PBD.
I'm like, bro, what a lame way of looking at it. He says, what do you mean? I said, can I be direct with you? He says, I said, okay, what do you want to transfer to your kids? What are the top 5 things you want to transfer to your kids? Never thought about it that way. Well, let's start thinking right now. So what do you want to, I want to transfer them love. Awesome. Should be number 1. What else you want to transfer to them? He's like, stuck. I said, let me tell you what my dad transferred to me. From the day I was born till today, my dad's worked 6 days a week. Not because he has to. He used to work because he had to. He stopped working because he had to, but he still works 6 days a week. In Iran, he worked from Monday. In Iran, the Sunday is Friday there. So we only have 1 day off in Iran. He would leave at 5 o'clock. He'd come at 8:30. Worked every single day. And he drove 2 hours to his job in a city called Karaj. We lived in Tehran, and he drove a Xi'an. Xi'an is like a Pinto in Iran. And then we had a Renault when we started making a little bit more money. So my dad taught me hard work. My dad worked at a 99-cent store in Inglewood down the street from Great Western Forum in a plaza.
If you enjoy content like this, then make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
For people that know that area right next to Video 2020, if you know what that area is, that's where my dad was. And he taught me never to be afraid of the truth. He was tough on me on keeping my word. He dropped out of school in 8th grade, knew nothing about math, couldn't read or write, but he shared values and principles to me, right? My mom, on the other side, was the most paranoid person I've ever met in my life. I've never met anybody more paranoid than my mom. My mom was always worried. You know, the warrior versus a worrier. My mom was the ultimate warrior, panic, anxiety, stress. A lot of it passed down from family, but she was always worried. So if I came home one day, I didn't know who I was with that day. I'd have to see where my mom is that day. Are you crying today? Are you worried today? Are you happy today?
Wow.
So I had to learn very quickly to size up who I'm talking to today.
Okay.
So it kind of gave me the ability to have a little bit of study of human nature and body language because I had to do it early on, right? My mom was good in math. My mom was overly paranoid, which you need in business, overly skeptical, slow to trust anybody. All of those qualities can work in your favor in business, right? Sometimes in personal life it can hurt you, but in business it can help you. They obviously clashed. They didn't work out. My mom, I'm getting her place right now. She's coming down here. My dad lives with me. So we're all going to be within literally within the next 60 days, we're all going to be within a 0.4 mile radius.
Wow.
All of us. And I've worked very hard to get it. I'm very happy about that. Yeah.
Yes.
But, you know, when we're younger, we only see the ugly side of our dad or mom, and we're rarely seeing the good side. And my pastor once told me something when I was 25 years old. He says the father-son relationship or the parent-child relationship goes through 3 stages. First, you idolize them. Then you demonize them. Then you humanize them. Your goal is to go through the humanizing phase as quickly as possible. The later you go, the fewer time you're going to have with them relationship-wise. And
how do you expedite that process? Get through the humanizing stage.
You can't, man. It's each is different. You know, it's like you can't do it. Like, you know, how fast do you find a wife or a partner to be married? You can't expedite that process. That part is tough, especially nowadays. Marriage, all that's very, very hard. But you do your best to try to gain wisdom by making a lot of stupid mistakes fast. The faster you make mistakes, the faster you gain wisdom. Sometimes we make mistakes slower. I'm about making mistakes faster.
Yeah, I just wanted to play that part because I thought it was like, you know, powerful. And I like Patrick Bet-David. I like, you know, the things that he has to say. I kind of wish he would stop talking stories so damn much because he could get his points across quicker. But I understand why he does it. He likes to tell his stories, and it's cool. You know, I like Patrick Bet-David a lot. But I really wanted to play this clip because of the beginning. Whenever Patrick Bet-David is basically a direct attack on Stephen A. Smith and people like Stephen A. Smith, the people who are Stephen A. Smith's friends. A lot of the things that they do on ESPN now, a lot of things that Stephen A. Smith does, is kind of the opposite of Patrick Bet-David. And they just like to complain. They're professional complainers, especially nowadays with ESPN. It's not really about sports anymore. It's all about the politics of the sports. And, you know, is Caitlin Clark getting picked on because she's white? Or is she just, you know, getting picked on for other reasons? Why are black head coaches not getting hired in the NFL? It's like they're always just complaining about something. And Patrick Bet-David is on Stephen A. Smith's own show and saying, stop complaining so damn much and start talking about some solutions. I don't care about your complaints. Tell me about solutions. And Stephen A. Smith, of course, is agreeing with him and everything because they're sitting across from each other. But he's going to go back on ESPN tomorrow and start complaining some more. 100% he is. Let me know in the comments what you thought about Stephen A. Smith and Patrick Bet-David. Sit down here. What did you think about Patrick Bet-David and what he had to say? I thought it was a great little clip, and I'm looking forward to part 2 of this interview. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this Patrick Bet-David versus Stephen A. Smith situation.